Picture this. While you're asleep tonight, your muscles will sit at a biochemical crossroads. One path leads to repair, growth, and metabolic resilience. The other to gradual atrophy that erodes strength, mood, and even longevity. Most people don't realize that the tipping point is set in motion hours before the first REM cycle, and it's driven by surprisingly simple choices we make each evening. What's at stake? Skeletal muscle isn't just for athletes, it's a metabolic power plant. More lean mass means better insulin sensitivity, stronger bones, greater cognitive reserve, and a reduced risk of age diseases. Yet, after about age 30, we lose 3 to 5% of muscle per decade unless we actively intervene. When muscle fibers shrink, so does our capacity to generate the neurochemical feel-good cocktail, dopamine, serotonin, and BDNF that fuels motivation and sharpens focus. In other words, protecting muscle protects the mind. Here's the neuroscience. Deep non-REM sleep triggers a pulsatile surge of growth hormone and the largest daily spike in muscle repair enzymes. But those signals can't do their job if the raw materials, amino acids, electrolytes, and mitochondrial cofactors aren't present, or if the nervous system is bathed in cortisol from late-night stressors. Recent work from Maastricht University showed that ingesting a slow-digesting protein 30 minutes before bed boosted overnight muscle protein synthesis by more than 20%. Meanwhile, chronobiology research out of the University of Colorado has revealed that mistimed blue light exposure after 10 p.m. blunts this anabolic window by spiking cortisol and delaying melatonin. Tonight's mission, then, is twofold. 1, flood muscle cells with the right building blocks at the right time. And 2, prime the nervous system for deep, growth-promoting sleep. Over the next few minutes, we'll unpack 6 science-backed strategies ranging from a precise pre-sleep nutrient protocol to a 2-minute neural calming breath that you can start using tonight. Expect practical tools, relatable analogies, and clear explanations of what's happening in your muscles and brain. Ready to turn bedtime into your most anabolic training session? Let's dive in. Most people assume muscle building only happens in the gym, but the reality is it happens while you sleep. And whether you're building or losing muscle depends largely on what you do in the final hour before bed. Here's what the research shows. A 2012 study from Maastricht University, led by Dr. Luc van Loon, demonstrated that consuming 40 grams of casein protein roughly 30 minutes before sleep significantly enhanced overnight muscle protein synthesis. Even without exercise. Casein is a slow digesting protein, which means it releases amino acids steadily throughout the night, aligning perfectly with your body's internal repair schedule. Why does this matter so much? When you sleep, especially during deep non-REM stages, your pituitary gland secretes growth hormone, GH, in pulsatile waves. GH is a major trigger for muscle repair, tissue regeneration, and fat metabolism. But this signal is only as effective as the materials it can work with. Without amino acids circulating in the bloodstream, those growth signals fall flat. It's like sending a construction crew to a site with no bricks. Here's the biological sequence. Casein enters your gut and breaks down slowly over 6 to 8 hours. This provides a steady stream of amino acids, particularly leucine, which is the key activator of mTOR, the cellular switch for muscle building. Meanwhile, growth hormone peaks about 60 to 90 minutes into sleep, aligning with these rising amino acid levels to accelerate tissue recovery. Want a simple protocol? Consume 30 to 40 grams of casein protein or a blend that includes micellar casein about 30 to 60 minutes before bed. Mix it with water or unsweetened almond milk, not a heavy meal, to avoid digestive interference with sleep quality. If dairy sensitive, use plant-based slow-digesting proteins like pea protein blends, or supplement with essential amino acids. We'll cover that more in the next few minutes. One of the most overlooked benefits? This nighttime protein ritual also preserves lean muscle during calorie restriction or intermittent fasting. Research shows that without nighttime amino acid availability, even short-term deficits in food intake can increase muscle breakdown overnight, especially in people over 40. Now, you might wonder, isn't eating before bed bad for sleep or fat loss? That depends entirely on what you eat and when. Fast carbs or large meals high in fat, yes, those disrupt sleep architecture and blunt growth hormone release. But a targeted dose of slow-release protein, that actually improves sleep quality in many people by stabilizing blood sugar and reducing nighttime cortisol spikes. And here's a powerful psychological benefit. This evening ritual becomes a mental cue, a neural anchor that signals your nervous system recovery starts now. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. This channel is all about giving you real tools grounded in neuroscience, nutrition, and psychology to upgrade how your body and brain perform every single day. Now we'll go deeper into the specific amino acids your muscles need during sleep and why, even with the right protein, you're not maximizing recovery unless these are present. Let's break down the next layer. Even if you're consuming enough protein, your muscles don't just rebuild on calories, they rebuild on signals. And one of the most powerful signals comes from a specific group of essential amino acids, EAEs, that your body cannot produce on its own. These amino acids act as molecular switches, telling your muscle cells whether to grow or break down. A standout among them, leucine. Leucine is a branched-chain amino acid, BCAA, that directly activates a protein complex called mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin. Think of mTOR as your body's internal foreman. It oversees muscle growth, repair, and protein synthesis. When leucine levels rise in the bloodstream, it flips mTOR on, signaling cells to start rebuilding damaged muscle tissue. But here's the catch. Your body doesn't store amino acids for long. That means if your last meal was hours ago and you go to bed without supplying new EAAs, your body may catabolize muscle to meet its needs, essentially breaking down tissue while you sleep. A 2019 study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition showed that even modest doses of EAAs, approximately 15 grams, taken before sleep can significantly enhance muscle protein synthesis, especially in older adults whose baseline synthesis rates tend to be lower. The best part? The effect was independent of total daily protein intake. In other words, it's not just about how much protein you eat during the day, it's when and what type of amino acids you deliver during your body's repair window. Here's a practical tool to apply. If you're already using casein or a slow-digesting protein at night, make sure it includes a high leucine content, at least 2.5 grams per serving. Alternatively, supplement with a blend of EAAs before bed, focusing on leucine, isoleucine, valine, glutamine, and tryptophan. Tryptophan, in particular, is key for serotonin and melatonin production, which means better sleep and muscle protection. Now, you might be thinking, can't I just take BCAAs instead of EAAs? A good question. While BCAAs, leucine, isoleucine, and valine, are powerful, they're incomplete without the full suite of EAAs. Your muscles require all 9 essential amino acids to sustain synthesis and recovery. Without them, you risk creating a metabolic bottleneck, even if leucine is present. And here's something deeply empowering. Even in the absence of exercise, targeted amino acid supplementation at night has been shown to maintain lean mass during periods of injury, bed rest, or metabolic stress. That means this tool isn't just for athletes, it's for anyone looking to hold on to strength, vitality, and resilience as they age. So here's your action step. Look for an EAA blend with at least 6 to 8 grams of total amino acids, containing 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine, taken 20 to 30 minutes before bed. You can mix this with your evening protein or sip it on its own. And if you're finding these science-backed tools useful, hit that like button and consider subscribing. This channel exists to translate deep, cutting-edge research into practical routines you can use to optimize your body and brain. every single night. Now, what happens when stress hormones stay elevated at night, and how you can shut off that catabolic signal in just 2 minutes? You could have the perfect nighttime nutrition dialed in, but if your nervous system is still running in high gear, your body won't get the message to rebuild. This is where many people unknowingly sabotage their muscle recovery. They carry stress into sleep, and that stress elevates cortisol, a catabolic hormone that breaks down muscle tissue. Let's break this down. Cortisol isn't the enemy. It's essential for alertness, energy, and survival. But timing matters. In a healthy circadian rhythm, cortisol peaks in the morning to help us wake up and drops steadily through the evening. However, if you're scrolling your phone, working late, or overthinking right before bed, your brain interprets these stimuli as threats. This activates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal PHA axis, flooding your bloodstream with cortisol precisely when it should be tapering off. What's the cost? Research from the University of Chicago has shown that elevated nighttime cortisol levels inhibit growth hormone release, impair deep sleep, and blunt muscle protein synthesis by up to 40%. Even worse, cortisol activates proteolysis, the breakdown of muscle tissue into amino acids for fuel. So not only are you not building, you're actively losing muscle. So how do we stop this? Here's a tool that's backed by neuroscience and takes only 2 minutes. Physiological sighing. Developed from the work of Dr. Jack Feldman and detailed by me, this technique leverages the brainstem's direct control over breathing to rapidly shift the body into parasympathetic rest and repair mode. Here's how to do it. Inhale deeply through your nose, then take a second shorter inhale on top of that. Exhale slowly and fully through the mouth. Repeat this 1 to 3 times. This sequence naturally offloads carbon dioxide, balances oxygen levels, and signals safety to your brainstem. Within seconds, heart rate slows, cortisol begins to drop, and vagal tone increases, a marker of relaxation and improved autonomic flexibility. This isn't just theoretical. A 2023 study from Stanford showed that daily practice of physiological sighs was more effective at reducing stress and anxiety than mindfulness meditation or box breathing. It's the fastest known way to calm the nervous system. Perfect for that window just before bed. Want to go further? Pair this breath work with a short journaling ritual. Take 60 seconds to write down 3 thoughts you want to leave outside the bedroom. This clears cognitive clutter and sends a neural signal that the workday is over. You're now conditioning your nervous system to associate evening with recovery, not stimulation. By mastering your breath and mental tone before bed, you're doing more than calming the mind. You're creating an internal chemical environment where muscle can grow. Remember, stress is inevitable, but chronic, unmanaged nighttime stress is optional. And now you have a tool to disarm it. Now we'll explore the crucial role of magnesium and melatonin and how syncing these natural molecules with your routine can dramatically enhance sleep quality, muscle recovery, and even mood. To build and preserve muscle overnight, your body needs more than just amino acids and growth signals. It needs deep, uninterrupted sleep, the kind that restores not just muscle fibers, but also your brain's emotional and cognitive systems. And to get there, 2 molecules must be in sync: magnesium and melatonin. Let's start with melatonin. Melatonin is your body's master sleep timing hormone. Secreted by the pineal gland in response to darkness, it tells your brain it's time to power down. But melatonin is also a powerful antioxidant, protecting muscle tissue from oxidative stress during sleep. Research from the University of Granada found that melatonin supplementation not only improved sleep onset and quality, but also reduced markers of muscle breakdown in older adults. But here's the nuance. Melatonin works best when your body has the right cofactors to support it. And that's where magnesium comes in. Magnesium plays a crucial role in over 300 enzymatic reactions, including regulating muscle relaxation and nerve excitability, supporting GABA production, your brain's main inhibitory neurotransmitter, aiding the conversion of tryptophan into serotonin and melatonin. Deficiency in magnesium, which affects over 50% of adults in the US, has been linked to poor sleep quality, heightened cortisol levels, and reduced muscle repair. A 2012 randomized clinical trial published in Journal of Research in Medical Sciences showed that magnesium supplementation in older adults improved slow-wave sleep, reduced cortisol, and improved anabolic hormone balance overnight. So how do you use this to your advantage? Here's a nightly protocol you can follow. Take 200 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate or magnesium threonate about 1 hour before bed. These forms are gentle on the stomach and cross the brain barrier to promote relaxation. If your sleep timing is inconsistent or you're exposed to bright screens at night, consider adding E0.3 to 1 mg of melatonin 30 to 45 minutes before sleep. Start low. More melatonin does not mean better sleep. Ensure your room is dark, cool, and screen-free for at least 30 minutes before bed to allow natural melatonin production to peak. Some people ask, can't I just take melatonin and skip magnesium? Not quite. Think of melatonin as the conductor that cues the orchestra. But without magnesium, many of the musicians like GABA, serotonin, and the sleep-wake cycle won't perform properly. You need both signal and support. Here's a relatable analogy. Melatonin is like dimming the lights and drawing the curtains. Magnesium is like silencing the background noise so you can fall asleep and stay asleep. When they work together, your nervous system enters a deeper parasympathetic state, allowing for the release of growth hormone, testosterone, and IGF-1, which are vital to overnight muscle recovery. And don't underestimate the psychological benefit. Consistent magnesium and melatonin support help reduce sleep anxiety, making it easier to fall into a ritualized routine, something that behavioral neuroscience shows is essential for long-term habit stability. If this tool is making sense and helping you, I invite you to subscribe. This channel is here to empower you with practical neuroscience-backed routines that elevate your body, mind, and performance. Now we'll uncover what actually happens to your muscles during deep sleep and how late-night behaviors like screens and food can silently sabotage your gains. Stay with me. We often hear that sleep is important, but very few people understand why it's absolutely essential for preventing muscle loss. The truth is, deep sleep is where the real rebuilding happens. And when that stage is disrupted, muscle maintenance and repair plummet. And then let's look at what happens when you enter deep non-REM sleep, also known as slow wave sleep, SWS. Roughly 60 to 90 minutes after you fall asleep, your brain shifts into a state of synchronized delta wave activity. This marks the beginning of SWS, and it triggers one of the most anabolically powerful moments of the entire day, a massive surge in growth hormone, PH. This hormone not only facilitates tissue repair, but also increases protein synthesis, mobilizes fat for energy, sparing muscle, supports collagen formation in joints and connective tissues, enhances glycogen storage for next day performance. But there's a caveat. This surge is fragile. If your sleep cycle is delayed, fragmented, or shallow, the GH pulse is reduced or even skipped entirely. One major disruptor: late night screen exposure. A 2014 study in PNAS showed that exposure to blue light from phones, tablets, or TVs just before bedtime delayed melatonin release by up to 90 minutes, shortened REM and sleep duration, and left subjects feeling more fatigued the next day, even with the same total sleep time. That's a direct hit to your recovery window. Another hidden saboteur: late meals, especially those rich in carbs and fats. When you eat too close to bedtime, within 60 minutes, your body prioritizes digestion over deep sleep, keeping core temperature elevated and blunting the depth of your sleep architecture. So that lack of sleep actually makes everything worse. And it's really only over time that you make decreasing, quote unquote, digestion more. Here's what to do instead. Shut off screens at least 60 minutes before bed, or wear blue light blocking glasses if you must use devices. Finish your last full meal 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. If you're using a pre-bed protein or amino acid protocol, keep it small and targeted, no more than 200 to 250 calories, to avoid disturbing thermoregulation and digestion. Consider using ambient red or amber light in your bedroom to enhance melatonin signaling. You can also support deeper sleep through pre-sleep wind-down rituals. Research in behavioral sleep medicine shows that consistent nighttime routines, especially involving breath work, light movement, or guided relaxation, shorten sleep latency and deepen SWS across all age groups. Think of it like this. Your brain needs a gentle runway to land into deep sleep. If you skip that process or clutter it with stimulation, you crash into light, fragmented rest. And when that happens, your muscle recovery goes offline. It's not about sleeping more, it's about sleeping better. You need to build your night like an athlete builds a training session, structured, intentional, and primed for recovery. Now, we'll look at a deceptively simple but powerful strategy. 5 minutes of evening mobility or stretching that activates neuromuscular feedback loops and tells your nervous system it's time to repair, not react. This final tool is your body's last signal of the day, and it can make all the difference. Let me ask you a simple question. What signal are you sending your body in the final 5 minutes of your day? Because whether you realize it or not, your muscles, your nervous system, and your hormonal balance are listening closely. And one of the most underrated ways to guide that conversation is through gentle evening movement, specifically low-intensity mobility work. Here's the neuroscience. Light movement before bed activates proprioceptive input, your brain's sense of body position in space. This input flows through the cerebellum and spinal cord, triggering the parasympathetic nervous system and telling the body, you're safe, grounded, and ready to recover. This may sound subtle, but its effects are profound. Research from the University of North Texas found that 5 minutes of stretching or yoga-like movement before sleep significantly improves sleep onset latency, how fast you fall asleep, reduced nighttime cortisol, and enhanced next morning muscle function in older adults. More interestingly, a study in Journal of Bodywork and Movement Therapies demonstrated that a simple, structured mobility routine increased overnight muscle protein retention, not because it builds new muscle directly, but because it reinforces the signal to preserve and protect what you've already trained for. Here's why this works so well. Mobility exercises enhance lymphatic circulation, which helps clear inflammation and metabolic waste from muscles. Light stretching activates Golgi tendon organs, which signal muscle relaxation and decrease involuntary tension, priming the body for deep sleep. These movements also lower sympathetic tone, shifting your nervous system from fight or flight to rest and repair. So what does this look like in practice? Try this 5-minute protocol before bed. Standing toe touch with deep breaths for 1 minute. Loosens posterior chain and elongates spine while calming breath. Wall chest opener for 1 minute. Releases shoulder and chest tension, especially useful after screen time. 90/90 hip stretch for 1 minute. Signals the brain to release lower body muscle tone and improve circulation. Cat-cow spinal mobilization for 1 minute. Engages spine and vagus nerve, triggering calm and grounded awareness. Child's pose with slow nasal breathing for 1 minute. A final full stop that tells your body the day is over and repair begins now. And here's a bonus benefit. Over time, this nightly ritual becomes a behavioral anchor, a consistent cue that builds a neural association between light movement and deep sleep. Behavioral psychologists call this contextual priming. It's like conditioning your body to expect recovery simply because you moved in a certain way. One more insight, this practice also taps into what's called interoception, your internal awareness of bodily sensations. And stronger interoception is correlated with improved emotional regulation, reduced anxiety, and better muscle recovery, according to work from Stanford's Neurosciences Institute. In other words, this isn't just physical, it's neurological. So before you collapse into bed, ask yourself, did I send the right signal? 5 quiet minutes can shift your biology and protect your muscle for hours to come. In our final section, we'll bring everything together, reinforcing the why and giving you one challenge to implement tonight so you can build stronger, healthier muscle while you sleep. Let's close strong. Let's step back and look at the bigger picture. Every night, while the world slows down and you drift into sleep, your body enters one of the most critical windows for physical transformation. Muscle isn't built in the gym, it's built in the hours that follow, when your nervous system quiets, your hormone rhythms align, and your cells get the signal to repair and grow. And the key takeaway is this: you have more control over that process than you think. Over the last 6 insights, we explored how to leverage science, not guesswork, to stop muscle loss at night and even reverse it. We saw how slow digesting protein before bed gives your muscles the raw material they need right when growth hormone peaks. We uncovered the role of leucine and essential amino acids in turning on muscle synthesis, even if your total protein for the day was adequate. We addressed cortisol and how late night stress shuts down recovery, plus the 2-minute breathing tool that can flip the switch back to repair mode. We examined how magnesium and melatonin, when properly timed, deepen sleep and set the stage for hormonal alignment and cellular recovery. We broke down the architecture of sleep itself, how slow-wave sleep is the anabolic engine of your entire night, and how late meals and screens can quietly shut that engine down. And finally, we talked about how just 5 minutes of mobility before bed sends a calming proprioceptive signal that tells your body you are safe, now grow. When you stitch these together, you get more than a nightly checklist, you get a ritual, a personalized, science-backed system for preparing your body to recover faster, lose less, and perform better. Why does this matter? Because muscle is more than just strength. It's your metabolic currency. It protects your bones, fuels your brain, balances your hormones, and enhances your ability to regulate emotion, stress, and energy. Preserving muscle means preserving resilience, physically and mentally. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one tool from today's protocol and implement it tonight. It could be drinking a slow digesting protein shake before bed, practicing 2 rounds of the physiological sigh to lower stress, taking magnesium glycinate to support deeper, more restorative sleep, or simply doing that 5-minute mobility sequence to prime your nervous system. Start with one, then stack them over time. That's how real change happens, not through hacks, but through consistent signals that shape biology. And if you've found value in this science-driven breakdown, if you now understand not just what to do, but why it works, then I invite you to be part of this growing community. Like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. Because when we sleep better, move better, and recover smarter, we show up better for ourselves, our families, and our goals. You don't have to accept age muscle loss. You can fight it, and the battle begins tonight with calm breath, intentional fuel, and the kind of rest that makes you stronger by morning. I'll see you in the next video. Sleep well and grow strong.